The Dallas Cowboys picked up a huge win against the New York Jets in Week 5. We'll break it down next.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for this week's highlights in the moving the game forward moment. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is Landon McCool. And on today's show, we're talking about the Cowboys' big win over the Jets in Week 5. Just from a big picture standpoint, this was a huge win for the Cowboys. I know the Jets are 0-5. We'll get to that in a little bit. But the fact that the Cowboys went in there, played a noon kickoff for them, without 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen, without CeeDee Lamb, and to get a convincing win, I think it says a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of it was also the way they played. That they came out early and were able to be efficient. They obviously it was a little bit rough at the very beginning of the game, but they overcame it quite quickly, and were able to be able to put forward and put their best foot forward and get a hold of this game early. And I think that's all of those things. Like you said, an East Coast game, early window. Road game against a non-conference, a non-common opponent. These are all like things that the Cowboys have traditionally really struggled with, and over the last few administrations have really had problems kind of getting up for. So just to kind of see that change alone, just felt like it was another thing that's different about this team under Brian Schottenheimer.
Yeah, I mean, I remember not too long ago where the Cowboys would have a single offensive line injury and it would decimate their entire offense to the point, again, I'm sure everybody's thinking of like the Adrian Claiborne, Chaz Green game, but there were several other games where, man, if Tyron Smith was out, your offense could not function. And not only were you out with 4 offensive linemen, you're without your best probably player on offense, CeeDee Lamb, relatively to the positions, and yet you're able to score 37 in this game. Well done by not only the players on the field, but I think this is a big win for the Cowboys coaching staff. And you and I were talking after the game. I think this was one of the best coaching performances we've seen by a Cowboys staff in a long time.
Yeah, Schottenheimer, Clayton Adams, Connor Riley all deserve huge kudos for what was going on there. And as well, Junior Adams, I mean, honestly, to get the performance that you got out of a guy like Ryan Fenoy when you didn't have CeeDee Lamb out there. Pickens obviously was being covered by Sauce Gardner. This was our concern, was that, Pickens was going against one of the top man cover corners in the league and a guy that was really a tough matchup specifically for a bigger receiver like Pickens. And he was able to draw a bunch of attention away. He got his touchdown and a first down as well, but you needed other guys to step up. It couldn't just be Fergie in the run game kind of doing it all in the middle. And to see guys like Fenoy kind of step up and have a 100-yard receiving game, 240-plus yard receivings.
That's 100 yards in the half, first half, 100 yards in the first one, which is unreal. I never would have thought that would happen. Especially, I honestly thought this game lined up for like Jalen Tolbert to have a big impact after last week. 1 target, 0 catches.
Well, they clearly made it about Fenoy, and again, that's kudos to Junior Adams and the wide receiver coaches, and the offensive, all the coaches today. Obviously, did their job very well to get a whole, group, a whole entire team's worth of guys that you haven't necessarily had to rely on at any point, and some of which likely would have been inactive for this game going in, to come and have contributors like Fenoy, and we'll talk about James Houston later, and Leafau. It really is a testament to maybe how deep this team can be if given opportunity, and now you're seeing some of these guys get the opportunity to grow a little more.
And we should mention the Cowboys' offensive line because they weren't perfect.
No.
Nate Thomas gave up a couple of pressures. They were mixing guys in. There was even a point where the left guard situation, they were putting some different guys in, including Trevor Keegan. And yet they ran for 180 rushing yards. For the most part, they kept Dak Prescott upright. again, we talked about this all offseason long, how we thought the Cowboys' offensive line depth was maybe the strength of their team. And they've even lost a couple names along the way, including like someone like Robert Jones. And yet they held up pretty well in this one. They neutralized Quinnen Williams for the most part. Couldn't have been more impressed.
Yeah, they technically Dak Prescott had a sack, but the offensive line wasn't attributed to it because he was outside the pocket and trying to run, and he didn't get back to the line of scrimmage. So technically the offensive line gave up 0 sacks, which is absolutely bonkers. I mean, if you think about what we're talking about, we went in without 4/5 of our starting offensive line, and we are going to start having to have a conversation about Nate Thomas. I do think it is time to now have a conversation with the way he was able to go in there and play left tackle the way he did. I think it's a conversation of whether he's not one of the best 2 offensive tackles that you have on this team, and he may not be number 2, to be honest, the way he played. So
he played well, but I still think the ceiling is so much higher with Guyton, and Guyton's been a really good run blocker this year. So I think you put Guyton back on the field when he's healthy. But I think if you get in situations like we had today where one of them isn't able to go, you feel pretty good about what Nate Thomas can do.
Yeah, and I wonder if he hasn't played an opportunity to start at least rotating for Terrence Steele's job, because even though Terrence Steele has done incredible work in the run game, there's absolutely 0 doubt. Nate Thomas has played so well on his opportunities, you can't deny him the opportunity.
Well, and we should really talk about Dak Prescott at the start, because for most of the time, sacks are a quarterback stat, right? Dak Prescott has done a really good job of making sure he's not taking bad sacks. He's getting rid of the ball quickly. He's on time. He was masterful at calling out the protections today. I think the last 2 games that we've seen him play against the Packers and the Jets are 2 of the better games I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, I mean, just considering who he had out there, again, no CeeDee Lamb, 4/5 of his offensive line out there. The numbers weren't his best numbers game, that's for sure. But the fact that he was able to put up the numbers that he did put out with the folks that he had out there was absolutely outstanding. He deserves, clearly as much credit as the wide receiver coaches for the guys like Flanoy having 114 yards in the first half or whatever it was. So, I think that was absolutely a huge part of it. And Dak had another masterful MVP-worthy game.
It's a shame they couldn't win last week. I know they tied. If they would have won, I think we're feeling much different about this team if they're 3-2, or they pull off that win against Philadelphia in week 1 where they had a chance to win the game at the end. But overall, Dak Prescott playing some of the best football of his career. And we need to talk about the Cowboys defense, which we thought they were going to get gashed in this game from Justin Fields and Breece Hall. And they actually played pretty darn well. We will get to them next. This episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. They're the place that become an extension of your home, whether it's that sports bar that's dedicated to your team's fan base, or the spot with the best wings in town on game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. And when neighborhood businesses thrive, the entire neighborhood thrives. There is a little wing shop just right down the road from my house. Shout out to Columbus Inn. They run their business on Square. It's an extension of our house. We don't cook on Sundays. We just go down to Columbus Inn, get wings, and that's how we celebrate Sundays and football season. I absolutely love them. They've been running their business on Square the last couple of years, and it makes everything so easy and so convenient. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world, and you can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy that you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward for those who do more than, or for those, let me try that again. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. These are the moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep the game moving forward. And this week's moment that moved the game forward is George Pickens' touchdown against Sauce Gardner. Pickens was relatively quiet in the first half, but he had a big touchdown in the second half to put the dagger in the Jets. It was a big play. You were waiting for it all game, and it finally happened. And that's the kind of play that the Cowboys have been missing and been wanting out of Pickens. And now it's keeping their fans excited, and it's helping move the Cowboys forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Landon, let's talk about the Cowboys defense, because I thought this was going to be a shootout game, a 35-31 type of game. Cowboys gave up 3 points in the first half, and honestly, this is the best team defense we've seen them play all year by a mile.
Yeah, and it felt like part of it was that you just saw a couple different bodies out there playing more. Specifically, you saw more James Houston, it felt like, in this game, and he produced. I think he ended up with a sack and a half. You saw more of Maris Leofau because of the injury to Sanborn and just the rotation they had to use, and he ended up, causing the fumble that probably changed the shape of the entire game. And just overall played well. And obviously we got to see a whole bunch of the rookie as well, Sherman James, that he was once Sanborn went out, and obviously everything kind of went down a peg. You needed to see more of him, and he was out there a ton. He made a ton of tackles. We'll wait to see it on the tape whether it was all good or not, because that's the other thing about
a lot of it was in the second half when it became kind of garbage time, right? Like I don't think he needed to be as soft as what he was, but he did make a lot of tackles that way.
Yeah, and I think that was a lot of kind of what was going on in the second half, is that they got gashed for a lot of yards in the second half specifically, and but it felt like a lot of empty calories because they were down by more than 3 touchdowns and 2 points. Obviously, the score started getting closer and closer as things the game went on, but it also so much time was being bled off the clock while they were moving the ball. Even though they were moving in chunks, it was a lot of runs, right? It was a lot of 12 and 15-yard runs, and it's like, and so as the clock kind of went down, the production of the defense did as well. But early on, when the game was kind of in flux, the Cowboys were able to get a pass rush. The Cowboys were able to get, obviously, a bunch of sacks at different points. Fields, obviously, someone is a guy that likes to hold on to the football. The Cowboys were able to take advantage of that. Yeah, definitely. And I think that was the other thing, too, is that they did it without having to blitz too much, but they did blitz a little bit more as well. So it was positive in the sense that I think you saw Eberflus trying some more things. I was nervous about this being the week that they tried new things, because I wanted to see the Cowboys play enough zone coverage to kind of take advantage of Fields, and they did, because Fields wasn't able to kind of have the scrambling day that you've seen him have against other teams. The Cowboys, even though you saw a lot of run success by the Jets, it wasn't in a case of Fields kind of scrambling and taking advantage of man coverage or anything like that. So I do think that the Cowboys defense showed improvement because of different guys that you saw in there, and just better play from guys like Sam Williams and Fowler, who had a really good game, and all the DTs. I thought the defensive line really just had their best.
Well, I mean, this is one of the better games I've ever seen Odighizuwa play. Like, they could not block him up front, and then they were running stunts, and it was freeing up Kenny Clark. So, like, the defensive tackles dominated, and that's what they had.
Even Solomon Thomas,
right?
Like
Thomas
that huge tackle for a loss, a
TFL.
Yeah, so good play by the defensive tackles.
Yeah. Sam Williams a little bit more up and down. He did get a nice sack. I think it was a late second quarter into the third quarter, but there were some discipline issues that continue to be the same thing. But for the most part, like, this was a really well defensive performance by most players. I thought someone like Dante Fowler, who he had a career high 5 QB hits in this game. I mean, they couldn't block him. This was, again, one of the better games I've ever seen him play. He was getting up the field. You're still waiting for Clowney to make an impact. We should mention Mosher and Landon, who got hurt in practice, did not play in this game, and you were able to overcome that as well. So good job by Matt Eberflus, at least steadying the ship a little bit here.
And this is one of the better explosive teams in the league as well. And the Cowboys only allowed 1 pass beyond 15 yards in the whole game. So, I think there were some things that were different. Obviously, the fact that you're playing the Jets is a huge portion of that. So we're not going to, get out the anointing oil, as a certain head coach used to say. But I think that you can look at the positives and see where they've made some improvements. some of the numbers are ugly. There's no doubt about it, but I'll take giving up 144 yards on the ground if you're only going to give up 22 points and really only
most of it being in garbage time. Right?
Exactly.
Most of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like the Cowboys had control of this game and didn't feel like they ever lost control of the game, especially after the forced fumble by Leah Fowler.
And honestly, I was going to say, I think the offense was more to blame because they got the ball at halftime and they went 3 and out. They got the ball back again and they went 3 and out. Like if the offense would have done some better jobs of having the ball and having even some of these 6-minute drives where you get a field goal, the defense isn't on the field as much. But I think for the most part, I'm not going to critique the defense too much. I thought they played well above their heads. They played a really good game here.
Yeah, I think by the second half, like that's when some of the talent disparity started to win out, and there was only so much the Cowboys could do against guys like Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. They were going to do what we kind of were concerned about. The fact that the Cowboys were able to hold it off until they had the lead that they did was impressive. But yes, ultimately they weren't going to be able to score on every single drive, so that did put more pressure on the defense. And to the defense's credit, for the first time this year, on multiple occasions they came up and made the play. They either forced a fumble or I think they had at least 2 fourth down.
And I want to mention that really quickly because that was on both fourth down plays. It was Donovan Ezuraku who either made the stop. He ended up hitting Justin Fields, kind of swooped outside, met Fields, tackled him for a loss. And then on the other one where Fields, it was a play action, he rolled out. Ezuraku did not buy into the run. He was able to force Fields to throw the ball contested. And I think it was Leah Fowler who was right there as well. I thought Donovan Ezuraku, even though he didn't get a sack, he did draw a hold on a pass rush. I think you're starting to see some of the flashes from him as somebody who could be a real difference maker on this defense.
Yeah, clearly he started to improve a lot. And Fowler, like you mentioned before, just playing better football than he was previous. And even on the rundowns, he was playing well. So, yeah, you're just starting to get a little bit better play from at least some of your defensive ends finally. And I think it's more about kind of how do we adjust play time? And
I think the problem is their 3 best defensive ends are all under 250 pounds. So
that's
it's like, how do you figure out ways to get those guys on the field? I think they're working through it.
Even Sam Williams got his sack running as a 3 technique, like going against a guard, like it wasn't at the edge. So yeah, it's like, how do you play these guys appropriately that you can get all that you need and still be a versatile defense?
Should mention that I thought the safety play was a little up and down in this game, and that's expected with Malik Hooker being out with a toe injury. The Cowboys put him on the injured reserve list on Friday. He's going to miss at least the next 3 games. Hooker said, I believe to Calvin Watkins, that there's some nerve damage in his toe that he's been dealing with for a while now. So he might not be back for a while. Donovan Wilson got a little bit banged up in this game, but we saw Marquise Bell out there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys start to lean into the kids and play those guys a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're getting longer in the tooth, and so as the game gets a little bit more physical, you're at least going to need to spell them a little bit more. So, we've seen Bell out there. He's already had the big 2-point turnaround on the 2-point conversion where they blocked the extra point. I'm sorry, not a 2-point conversion, but they blocked the extra point and they get the 2 points. So we've seen him out there. It's just we haven't seen him so much playing safety. We've seen him a little bit, I think, playing linebacker out there in nickel situations, but not so much back in safety. So it's just going to be more opportunities for him to get back there with Wanye.
I want to talk about just kind of the big picture here for the Cowboys as they're sit 2-2-1, what this win means. But before we do that, let's talk about some Javonte Williams, who had yet another big game for the Cowboys. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put $5 down, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel because it gives you so many different ways to play. Like, I love moneyline parlays. That's like one of my things. I get together on Sunday morning, open up the app, pick out 2, 3, 4 teams that I think are going to win, put them in a parlay for a big payout. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got just a little bit something on the line. Like, this Titans-Cardinal game that came right down to the end. It's fun because I had the Titans money lines. It's absolutely fantastic. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler the Madman Rowland gives you a shot of espresso to start your football day, while Tony Wiggins takes you to the barbershop for the smoothest breakdowns to end it. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Landon, let's talk about Javonte Williams, who had another huge day. He had a big run right before halftime to give the Cowboys a commanding lead over the Jets. I'm starting to think this is the Cowboys' best free agent pickup since I'm trying to think who would have been a better pickup for them than Javonte Williams.
I'm really struggling. I just like as impactful. I don't know. Like I think
Leonard Davis.
Yeah, maybe. It's been a long time, and that's the thing is like you go back to thinking about all the great runs the Cowboys have had since like 2000s with Zeke and everyone. Like this was, I think that 66-yarder was the second longest run by a Cowboys running back since Alfred Morris, if I'm not mistaken. And look, I mean, I think what's crazy is that, we thought that Williams would be, from what we saw at camp, what we just know about the guy, I think we were all hoping, and we think we saw that we felt like Williams would be, a league average back behind a good offensive line that had some good scheme, and that would be effective and efficient, right? So far through 5 weeks, Javonte Williams is the number one running back in the NFC for yards total, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's going to lead the league in rushing yards after this week. Pretty sure.
So, the fact that he's kind of just gone so far and above the expectation, I think that's one of the reasons that you are kind of maybe readjusting your thoughts on a win like this, right? Because again, it's just another week where you see you can go on the road and run the football and rely on running the football, even when you don't have a guy like CeeDee Lamb out there taking the top off and getting that extra guy out of the box. Even when you don't have 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen, which include several first-round picks and a third-round pick, right? You can still go out there and effectively run the football, and they basically did it only with Williams. So, I just wanted to point out one thing real quick on that. The thing that really makes him kind of special is like not only just his ability to run through contact and continue to move the football, even when he's got bodies on him. On that 66-yard touchdown, or not touchdown. That's specifically the point. Yeah. On the run, he had the option to try to keep going to score the touchdown or to get out of bounds like he did, right? And if you think about the situational football aspect of that, there was 29-ish seconds left to go in the game when he did that. If he doesn't get out of bounds like he did on that play, they probably don't have the time to get another playoff to get the touchdown, because they got to run all the way down there and spike the ball. I'm not sure they had timeouts at that point, but the situational football to get out of bounds to save them the time when he knew that he, probably it could go either way. It just kind of showed the level of football intelligence and unselfishness that he had. I've just become such a huge fan of his game. And I think he gives me confidence that after a win like this, if you can go out and win next week in Carolina, maybe there's something here. Maybe there is something that's worth investing and kind of looking into what we can get done this season.
Well, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Like, hey, if the Cowboys want to be buyers before the trade deadline, you really need to come out of this Packers, Jets, Panthers stretch at 2-1, if not better, right? Well, right now they are 1-0-1. You beat the Panthers next week, and you're 3-2-1, you feel pretty decent, maybe you get Tyler Booker and CeeDee Lamb back after that, and Cooper Beebe's coming down the road, and we'll see about some of the other guys on defense. You've at least given yourself a chance, and you're right. Like, one of the things we talked about this offseason, if the Cowboys want to be real contenders, maybe not this year, but in future years, they've got to be a team that can actually run the ball, not just talk about, we want to run the ball, but actually do it when teams know you're going to run the ball. And through 5 games, again, Javonte Williams is leading the NFL in rushing yards I believe he's first in success rate. He's averaging 5.7 yards per carry. He's almost matched his rushing total from all of last year with the Broncos. They are actually running the ball. And again, that's with several offensive line injuries.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, he's playing at a very high difficulty level and still succeeding. I mean, honestly, you saw it in that first game against the Eagles. The Eagles are not necessarily a team that's easy to run the football on, and neither the Packers. And the way that he was able to run through arm tackles and just not go down, and I think the fact that was the most surprising is that we're seeing huge plays. Like, that's the thing that we weren't expecting, is that he's doing everything like a workhorse back, and then on top of that, we're seeing 66-yard runs. We're seeing 20-yard runs, and it's pretty decently consistent considering who we're talking about. So, yeah.
Well, even on his touchdown run, he was like the one where they ran it to the right. Like, he just had enough patience to like let the blockers get there, cut it back in. You don't need to try to race to the pylon. It's just such a smart running back move. And I think like that's the difference between someone like Jaden Blue and Javonte right now. That's not a shot at Jaden Blue. This is what a veteran NFL running back can do for you.
Yeah. And I think he's hit his stride in a way that maybe he never did in Denver. And I think he just got a lot of experience. And what you've gotten so far is just a very well-rounded running back who's smart, who could do a little bit of everything well, including pass protection and catching the ball in the backfield. By the way, they did the play action pass to the flat, the running back. It's one of my favorite plays of football, completely undefeated. No one knows how to cover it. I still someone showed me how to cover it. So anyways,
I thought your favorite play was the Hunter Lipke reception to the left where they had the blocker in front of him. I think it was a 3rd and 10.
That was my favorite result. That was my favorite result. Yeah.
Finally, we saw a little bit more of Hunter Lipke in this game, and honestly, worked out okay.
Yeah. So listen, I'm loving what Clayton Adams is doing to this offense. It's really, really exciting.
All right, that is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Check us out on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Enjoy your Victory Monday, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.